Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business to business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank #1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I'm Seth, as always, hasn't changed in 100 plus episodes. I'm here with a guy named A. Smith called Keith, or Keith Smith, depending on your mood in the day and whether or not you're listening to his podcast, which is the Fuel podcast on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network. How's it going? It's Smith called Keith.
Hey, Seth. Pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I like getting
I'm very privileged.
all my cohorts from the MPN network on here, and it's fun. And you're not going to see his background because we're on only audio, but he's got this really cool Zen-like atmosphere around him. Is that a real plant behind you?
No, it's a fake one. But
But he looks nice, so that's good.
I've named him Eddie Cheddar.
Eddie Cheddar, there you go. And he's got sound thing. He's all pimped out over there. I like
That was the story behind that. Very quickly, is that was to do with when the pandemic hit, because we did have some recording space, a studio space set up in downtown Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah.
And when the lockdown, not that I think we were the only people that actually obeyed the lockdown, but when that came in, we thought, well, we're never going to get into the office space. So we ripped everything out and then set it back up in our home office and stuff. So yeah, I've ended up with the room that I always wanted when I was 12 years old.
Oh, and you might wonder, he says Indianapolis, but he doesn't sound like he's from Indianapolis.
No.
He's from across the pond.
I'm no Hoosier.
Exactly. Are you from London? Is that where you're from, or England? I mean, everyone thinks that if you have a British accent, you're from London. It's just dumb Americans. So.
Well, no, I am from London.
I got it right.
I was born in London, and then spent a lot of time sort of growing up just out on the outskirts of London.
In the burbs.
Yeah, and sort of towards the south coast, and then moved back when I was about 19. So I kind of lived around. I mean, I've never sort of really had anywhere that I call like my hometown or anything. You know, I sort of.
Yeah, now you're a Colts fan, or can you not bring yourself as being a European or a British person? I don't think you can call yourself a European anymore, but whatever. But
No, not since Brexit. No,
not since Brexit. But you know what I'm saying? Like, being what it calls football, we call soccer. You call it football. Can you bring yourself to even like American football?
I like it. I do like it. It just makes me wince. The head injuries and stuff like that. You know, it's
lots of head injuries too. The heading. I see people with massive concussions from hitting the ball.
It's a lot less. I mean, you know, rugby's bad as well, but you know,
rugby's insane.
Yeah, rugby's
football. Our football, American football, with no pads.
Yeah, I know.
That's special.
The only thing that's more brutal, I think, is there's hurling, isn't it? Have you ever watched hurling?
Isn't that Gaelic football?
Yeah, Gaelic football and Australian rules football. That's the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Animal. Absolute animal
Well,
stuff.
Canadian football, which is like American football, they're just very polite at the end. I'm sorry, I'm busting on the Canadians. But anyhow, Keith, to get us back on track here, you are the editor in chief, the chief poobah of the how do you
Adverti
say it?
Yeah,
Advertist.
yeah.
I came in here saying I know how to say it, and I butchered it.
It's
So
it's
what
you put the emphasis, it's Advertist.
Advertist? Got it. So what is the Advertist?
It's, well, we help basically, I mean, my whole background ha has been working in sales development.
Okay.
So my whole thing, I mean, I know you have a journalist background, but
Yeah.
I mean, I came up through newspapers and trade newspapers as well.
You
But
were on the other
I
side
was
of the
the other side. I was, I was paying your wages,
Thank you. Thank you very much. What wages? What wages were they? They were like
The wages of
$21,000 a
sin,
year. Like,
Seth, the wages of sin.
yeah,
But,
it's
um,
playpen is more like it.
but so I kind of I've always been sort of working on the sort of sales end of things, and I've always had a love for the world of advertising and public relations and stuff like that. So you put those two things together, and I ended up sort of in the 90s, 80s and 90s or 90s doing new business work for creative agencies. I got to meet a lot of kind of really cool people working in the world of creative advertising, marketing, public relations, and all that sort of thing. And so the natural extension for that was, that I realized there were very few tools available for anybody that wanted to do sales development. I mean, it was very much a case of there's a desk, there's a phone, get on with it. So,
It's so true. It's so
so
true. Until recently. Now
so I just thought, well, let's put some data together, have a nice big database that people can access and stuff like that. So that's really where it came from, and that's what the Advertist does. Is it allows creative agencies, mainly in the UK,
yeah.
to access a big database of contacts and news and people moves and all that sort of good stuff.
Oh, so you're at the business journal pretty much.
Yeah, it's three-dimensional trade journal for business people. That's a good.
Three-dimensional trade journal for business people. I like that.
Yeah, and that's about as entrepreneurial as I get. So I don't know
That's
what.
pretty entrepreneurial. That's pretty entrepreneurial. I'll call it that. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. You have less than 1 month left to get special early bird pricing for the Creator Economy Expo 2023. This event, folks, is for content creators and entrepreneurs interested in building and growing their content-first businesses. Do not miss this show. Join over 500 bloggers, podcasters, authors, newsletter writers, speakers, consultants, and freelancers at the learning and networking event for content creators. Plan to attend May 1st through the 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio. Register now to secure early bird pricing before it disappears March 31st. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. As a special offer, you can get $100 off just for listening to MPN shows like this one. Go to cex.events to register. Use the coupon code MPN100. The address, the URL, cex.events. That's the whole thing. Type that into your browser. cex.events. The code you use, MPN100. The Creator Economy Expo, Cleveland, May 1st through the 3rd. See you there.
You also do your Fuel podcast, which
Yes.
has seasons, and they
Yeah.
have topics, which is one you just busted on me for having 17 terabytes of Gmail space earlier this morning. I'm like, I didn't ask for in my defense, I didn't ask for it. I just looked. I'm like, I thought I had a terabyte. And all of a sudden I look at it, I'm like, I have 17 terabytes. I'm like, I mean, I pay a lot of money for my Gmail because I have like 5 or 6 people on it and all that stuff. I pay for the premium plan because 30 gigs was not enough, but 17 terabytes is I don't need 17 terabytes.
That's a lot of space. It's a lot of space.
Even I won't use I mean, in not my defense, I have 800 gigabytes in there, mostly of my photos backed up,
Right.
but I'm still under terabytes. I was like, "Oh, I mean, all right, maybe I have 2 terabytes on there 'cause I have 2 terabytes over a Dropbox because that's what they give you." 17 terabytes, I'm like, "What the heck?" So
Will it
anyhow,
ever? Do you ever wonder? Will they ever run out of space? I mean, will they just keep creating more and more memory space?
we
At
have
some point,
room.
is somebody going to go? All right, that's enough. With the internet is full now.
I know, it's insane. Like, we're at what are we, a petabyte now of internet or a few petabytes?
Yeah.
We might even be at exabytes. That's something we're up there with words I'm thinking I'm just making up. But anyhow, that all brings us back to the fact is that this season is about being a good steward of the environment and being a
Yeah, I
marketer and
mean,
stuff like that. Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
well, we broke. It wasn't kind of deliberate, but it's kind of happened.
Nothing
It was a
is.
happy accident,
Yeah.
in that when we started the podcast, and when I'm talking about we, I'm talking about there's myself, my business partner, my wife Donna, and my IT guy Matt, who is absolutely couldn't do any of this with it.
You can see Keith's setup here. It's insane.
But the whole idea is that what we decided to do was, apart from just having, it being nice to have chats with people, and we thought it'd be great for posterity and all that sort of thing, we needed to have a mission as to what we were going to editorially, what we were going to do. So year one, we kind of, the season, every year is a new season for us.
Yeah.
So season one, year one, we looked at how to be creative. So we were looking at subjects like what it takes for an agency to stand out, and how to be creative, because it was a nice, easy subject for us to get into. And we spoke to some great agency leaders.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, what does it take for creative agent? And it's an interesting subject, is how people are creative.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether you've seen it. I was watching that show, the documentary about the Abbey Road studios.
All right, it's in my watch list right
I thoroughly recommend it. But that is a great example, because EMI, the record label at the time that owned Abbey Road, when the Beatles were recording Sgt. Pepper's, you had Pink Floyd also recording Dark Side of the Moon, and basically EMI just let them play in this huge studio with all the toys and tools and everything else like that, and then two of the greatest albums, arguably, for creative, were born. And I think that's very much a takeaway for how we need to allow creative people the bandwidth to play, to let them summon their muse, because I think
Absolutely.
so. That was season one. Season two, we got into the idea of diversity and inclusion, and the fact
Good topic. Yeah.
the fact that a lot of people think that the world of advertising and public relations is full of left-leaning people, and it's all very left-wing and militant and stuff, and it's not. Kind of gives that feeling, but I think,
Because they're the loudest ones.
well, a lot of people working in the advertising and public relations, they follow trends, they follow the zeitgeist. And so, in the 80s, greed was good. So
Yeah.
everybody working in advertising public relations was following that. So I think it ebbs and flows, but
Yes.
but I think, the rule to that, the thing that we found after that season, was the fact that the advertising industry needs to encourage education for the creative arts, instead of trying to divert everybody into, things that are, the STEM, the typical STEM curriculum, is that there has to be enough room to put creative stuff in there, so that
Make
people,
it steam is this stuff.
well, like me, I was a hopeless student. Absolutely hopeless, because none of the subjects, apart from English language, none of the subjects fit my mentality. So,
Yeah.
I think it was important to, the creative stuff comes through. So that was season two. Season three, we got into the greenwashing and the environment. So we were talking about, facts that, I mean, here's an interesting thing. The one thing that stuck with me through that: if we all stopped eating meat tomorrow, we could end this whole climate debate right there.
Isn't that amazing?
If we just stopped eating meat, and so, I mean, I'm a vegetarian, but that
I'm a card-carrying meat eater, unfortunately.
each to their own. The point is that this can be stopped if we wanted it. So I mean, that was sort of year three, and now we're on to this whole working from home thing, which brings me nicely into the whole podcasting side of things. Is the way that we're all now communicating, and that we now have the tools. I was saying to somebody the other day, imagine what the pandemic would have been like if we didn't have all this technology.
I know. It would have been dreadful.
It
It was already dreadful. Don't get me wrong. It's terrible. But, actually, these tools came into their own during the pandemic. I mean, it's amazing. No one had heard of Zoom before the pandemic. I mean, people have been using it since 2013, but it was very much a business tool. Now everyone, their mother knows how to use even my mother knows how to use Zoom. Granted, she just got to call me every 5 minutes saying, "What's my password? What's my password?" Love you, Mom. And she listens to this show, so I'm probably in trouble right now. But anyhow, I will not edit that out. But she's on Zoom. She talks to she mentors some Israeli students, and every once in a while she's like, "I can't log in." I'm like, "I love you, mom."
Yeah. But the appearance of all this technology at that time, I think there was something very fatalistic about it.
Yeah.
I mean, having listened to a few of fascinating podcasts
Oh, God bless you.
in the past, but I think it's the ability, the part of the sort of the very essence of being entrepreneurial
Yeah.
is to basically spot something and think, I can do that, right? I can work with it. That's something that's in my wheelhouse that I can do. And so everything that when the pandemic hit, whenever people migrated onto Zoom, there were those people that went, I can't wait to get back into the office when I can see people face to face, because they didn't feel right doing it. But for me, jumping onto Zoom calls, and when everybody started jumping onto Zoom and started working with it, I think it was a good test for entrepreneurial people, because suddenly you could see some people going, this is cool, this is fine, because now I don't have to be in the office for 5 days a week. Now I can actually be
Hybrid
in the
work.
office once or twice a week, and that's good for me. And I've got the bandwidth. So it kind of, this season for the Fuel podcast, we've spoken to quite a few experts already on this subject. And for me, it's fascinating because there is a real science behind it. So that is fantastic.
I love it. So what is the best thing about being your own boss, being an entrepreneur?
I always have trouble with authority. It's been a thing of mine from the get-go. And I've always had, I think a friend of mine said, you'd be a terrible soldier because I don't follow orders.
Uh-oh, your poor wife. So you don't follow the honey-do list that well?
That is sacrosanct. Of course.
Yeah, you got to follow the honey-do list.
Of course I do that. But as far as just the daily grind of the office, I did 25, 30 years of it, and I feel like I've done my time. But the idea of working, sort of independently and running my own, running my own clock works for me. I mean, I've now got a very happy, very good and satisfying work-life balance, which I think that's the key to it, is when my mind isn't worrying about having to leave the office so I can get a train, so I can get home, so I can cook dinner, so I don't have to worry about that. And that to me is just that stuff off my plate. That doesn't, that's one less thing to worry about, or 10 less things to worry about. And that's what makes it good. I think that's the art or the beauty of being your own boss, is having that freedom to create your own work-life balance.
Love it. So what keeps you up at night, though, with entrepreneurship?
Nothing. Absolutely.
Oh, it's brilliant. Love it.
I sleep like a baby.
That's awesome.
Normally wake up, wet the bed. But,
you sleep so soundly. Like I forgot to pee at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Because of my hours as well. This is the other thing. Because of my hours, I work UK hours, even though I'm based in the US. So I'm up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so what that means is I have to be in bed by 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. It's perfect for me. And again, another beautiful thing is that now we're all watching Netflix and streaming shows.
It doesn't matter when it shows up. You just turn it on at 6 o'clock at night.
I can watch nighttime shows in the morning. It's a great thing. So suddenly the world bent in my direction, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Awesome. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
I think self-respect. To me, and it took me a long time to do that, because I'm a people pleaser, and I think when I was growing up and in my early years, I was prepared to do whatever it took, whatever somebody asked me to do. I wanted to try and to make them happy. And I think that you develop as your core builds, you sort of think, okay, well, I'm not doing those things, so I'm not afraid to say no now. And that to me is very important, is not having to say yes. And that, again, that's another reason why I sleep at night, is because, I'm only saying yes to things I want to do.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it. With Keith, or Smith named Keith. Called Keith, named Keith. What's your tagline? A Smith called Keith?
A Smith called Keith, yeah.
A Smith called Keith. Where can people find you online?
I'm on LinkedIn, obviously. And the thing is, Keith and Smith are two very common names on.
Like Seth Goldstein. Like, you're the non-Jewish version of Seth Goldstein. Keith and Smith. It's like Seth and Goldstein. It's like There's a lot of us out.
I know. So I put a load of Roman numerals after my
I
after
was
my
wondering, is there anything to that, or is it you just
yes,
being
that's
plain Brit?
it's my year of birth,
Oh,
1966.
really? Okay, I
Yeah.
was wondering. I just thought it was British humor.
No. Well, there's
It
something
is British humor because you
there's
put
something
Roman numerals.
Python-esque about it, I suppose. But and of course, 1966 was the last time that England won the World Cup
Oh,
football.
wow.
So
You've never seen it. You've never seen it happen.
I've never seen England. Well,
Well, you were born, but you
I,
weren't cognizant at the time.
exactly. So I've never seen. I've seen them. I've seen them nearly get it. Nearly's not there, is it? Nearly.
No, and,
Yeah.
and at the time of this recording, American football, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl,
Exactly. So
and so that's
will be.
exciting.
I will be cheering them on your behalf.
Why, thank you. Better than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, it's a good excuse to have everyone round and eat some nachos and wings, right?
Exactly. But this will come out soon, a little bit after the Super Bowl, so we'll, at this point, they'll know if the Eagles won or not. Either way, you guys,
They won.
we got Kelsey
They
and
won.
Kelsey playing it. What?
We're celebrating their win, right?
Oh, absolutely, they're gonna win. Oh yeah, go Eagles!
Yay!
Or as we say in Philadelphia, grease up those poles.
But
And that's not a dirty term because literally they grease the poles. People can't climb them because Philadelphians climb poles for some strange reason when they win. Every time they have to grease the poles with like paraffin wax, so you slide off them. Welcome to Philadelphia, my friend.
hey, it's a tradition. Keep it up, But I have a podcast, obviously,
Yes.
which we're talking about, which is thefuelpodcast.com. And you can also find it on the wonderful Marketing Podcast Network, where I feel like I'm in the company of giants when I'm lined up next to people like you. And congratulations on your 100. I did listen to your 100th episode with the fantastic Ian Truscott. I love the guy.
Another fellow Brit.
Yeah, and
We
he's
have a lot of British people in the network. We have Gordon.
Yep.
We have you.
Caroline.
And
there's
Ian.
Yeah, and there's a couple more coming on stream as well, which I can't tell you about.
And then we have Neville.
Yes.
We have at least 5 so far, and then we have this crazy American cowboys on the other side. You kind of have a cowboy because you're in Indianapolis. So go figure.
That puts me in the Midwest, doesn't it? Really, but
Yeah, tornado season, right?
I do have a cowboy hat though.
Well, there you go. You're American now. Oh God.
But anyway, so yes, so that's where you can find me, and so
and
on
Advertist too. Advertist.
and at theadvertist.com. But that's always terribly hard to say. It's advertist.com.
It's called show notes. Let's put in the show notes, and it'll be good. So, a Smith named Keith, a Smith called Keith, whatever you're called, Keith.
Smith.
Just Keith, a bunch of Roman numerals. It's been great, my friend. I'm so glad we got you on the show finally.
Thank you, Seth. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you. Thank you.
Oh, it's so much fun. And we'll see everyone next week.
Bye.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Neville Hobson and Shell Holtz are the legendary hosts of FIR4 Immediate Release, a great podcast. Shell, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
Well, Jason, Neville and I have been producing FIR since January of 2005. It's the very first PR communications podcast ever. We analyze current news and trends from a communication perspective with a short episode or two each week and a longer, more in-depth show every month.
Awesome. Where can people subscribe?
Well, they can go to firpodcastnetwork.com. They can find the show, of course, at marketingpodcast.net or search for Immediate Release wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard him, folks. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.